So today's presentation, we are going to talk about the central processing unit, which is the CPU.
Okay, what is CPU? CPU stands for Central Processing Unit. It's like the brain of a computer. Some people call there is a thing, turn it on and off steadily rate to help keep everything in sync. We call it transistor. Also, the wire is also called the clock. The clock in this simulation is turning on about twice a second. Modern CPU are measured in gigahertz. Giga meaning billion, in hertz meaning times per second. So the clock in the modern CPU turning on several billion times per second. That speed is what allows CPU to do very complicated things very quickly. It performs the basic, logical, and input or output operation of a computer system. Okay. Let's see. There is two main manufacturers, Intel and AMD. In the 1980s to 1990s, AMD became competitor with Intel. In 2000 to 2010, AMD had poor performance than Intel. In the 2010 and to now, both are the biggest parties in the market. Let's pass to my teammate.
So here are some basic information of CPU. First of all is the cores. Core is for us to processing the program on our computer. And for example, a quad-core chips, each of them can be put to work on a given task at the same time, and for faster multiple tasking. Fun fact is that a quad-core chips doesn't mean that it has twice power as a quad-core chips. It only means that it contains two quad-core chips inside. And the next one is the flags. The two biggest parties in the CPU market, they are conducting two different flags. For Intel, they are using a flag is called hyperthreading. AMD is using a flag is called simultaneous multithreading. So I'm going to pass through to my next groupmate to talk about more details.
As we mentioned before, the CPU is like the brain of the computer, responsible for the operation of the computer. We already know that CPU contains cores, and these cores are responsible for the processing of the instructions and what is shown on your screen. So, more cores means you can have more tasks to done at a single time. The cores are more and the processing ability is higher. And this ability of the computer to have multiple tasks performed at a time contains a new term, multitasking. It means you are performing more than one thing at a time. For example, picture A shows 4 cores and 4 threads. Each core has 1 thread. And picture B shows 4 cores and 8 threads. Each core has 2 threads. Picture C shows 8 cores and 8 threads. Each core has 1 thread. This is another term, multi-threading, and it means the processors can use multiple cores at a time. Let's guess, which one has the fastest processing speed? The answer is picture C, because the core number is the highest, containing 8 cores. How about if only compare picture A and B? The answer will be picture B, because of the core thread numbers is higher than the picture A, although they have the same number of the core. Another important component of the CPU is frequency. It is also called clock speed. The performance of the CPU has a major impact on the speed at which program load and how smoothly they run. However, there are other different ways to measure processor performance. In general, a turbo frequency means a faster CPU. However, many other factors come into play. CPU specification lists both turbo frequency and base frequency. The processor's base frequency refers to the CPU's regular operation point, while the turbo frequency refers to the maximum speed that the processors can achieve. The CPU processes many instructions from different programs every second. The frequency measures the numbers of cycles, and the CPU executed per second, measured in gigahertz. A cycle is technically a pulse signalized by an international oscillator, but for our purposes, there are basic units that help understand a CPU speed. During each cycle, billions of transistors within the processor open and close. Frequency is more operation within a given amount of time as experienced above.
So we also have 3 criteria for different users. First of all is the beginner user. Their CPU or their computer are mainly for handling some normal computer work. For example, using Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, or watch a YouTube video. The program they process, they do not require a high power, and they do not need a lot of processing capacity. And therefore, they are seeking for a lower price for a good enough CPU. The next level is the FA user. In their perspective, their CPU is for handling multiple computer work. For example, some professional video editing or photo editing. And moreover, they need a better quality of a CPU and have a low latency. Overall, they're willing to pay a higher price to buy a better CPU than a beginner user. Lastly is the power user. Their CPU is for them to handling the professional use and dealing the heavy work. In this case, we can assume it can be an international gamer. They use their CPU for joining the international gaming competition. So therefore, the CPU should contain the excellent performance and have the higher effectiveness. And also, they need a lot of processing capacity. And overall, in the all above criteria, power user is the one who is able to pay the highest amount of money to buy the best CPU.
Okay, let me introduce 3 categories of products. First, about the beginning user, we provide Intel i3 10100, and the price is in golden market. We went to, and the price is 925. And the important feature of the i3 10100 is contest 4 cores and 8 threads, and the basic frequency is 3.6 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 4.3 GHz. And for the Ryzen, we provide our Ryzen 3 3300X, and the price is 1018. And the important feature of the Ryzen 3 is have 4 cores and 8 threads, and the basic frequency is 3.8 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 4.3 GHz. And after the compare, we suppose we can choose the i3 10100 because they have the same feature, but the Ryzen 3 is more expensive. About the FH user, we provide i7 10700F, and the price is 2,470. And the important features of the i7, which contains 8 cores and 16 threads, and the basic frequency is 2.9 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 4.8 GHz. And about the Ryzen 7, we provide 3700X, and the price is 2,418. And the important features of the Ryzen 7, which contains 8 cores and 16 threads, and the basic frequency is 3.6 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 4.8 GHz. And you can see the price of the golden market, and here's the products we take picture in golden market. And after compare, we provide Ryzen 7 3700X because its the basic frequency is more bigger and faster, so only $10 between these two products. So we prefer Ryzen 7 3700X. And last, the power user, we provide Intel i9-10900F, and the price is 3,560. And the important features of the i9, which contains 10 cores and 20 threads, and the basic frequency is 2.8 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 5.2 GHz. In the Ryzen, we provide Ryzen 9 3900X, and the price is 3,715. And the important features of the Ryzen 9, which contains 12 cores and 24 threads, and the basic frequency is 3.8 GHz, and the maximum turbo frequency is 4.6 GHz. And after our compare, we suppose we should choose the Ryzen 9 3900X because Ryzen 9 have 2 more cores and 4 more threads, and the basic frequency is more than the Intel i9. And also, Ryzen 9 have the CPU multiplayer, and which is Intel i9 does not have. So that is the end of the free user.
Okay, to sum up, here are some future trends and possible development to CPU. The first and the most difficult to achieve, the CPU developers hope to increase the clock speed of CPU, but they have to first deal with the resistance of the limitation of the physical law. But mostly, in the future, the CPU may have more core chips inside and more core count. These future developments may increase the power and speed in CPU. However, the maturity of CPU development will also enhance at the same time. The CPU can be sold in lower price and target a bigger market. This is the end of our presentation. Thank you. Hello, my name is John. My student ID is 203A01. My part in the project is photo shooting, photo editing, and video shooting and editing. I also write the introduction. In this project, we didn't procrastinate, which means we did it as soon as possible. When we go to the computer shop, we asked a shopkeeper to take a photo on the CPU. In the very beginning, my teammate didn't believe that the shopkeeper would let us take the photo, but he promised me. I waited about 2-3 hours. He said it will be okay if his partner came back. Eventually, I took the shot. I think we should believe in the good side of the human nature. Thank you.
My name is Jern Yu, and you may call me Astrid. My student number is 203A07. Before I get into this project, I don't even know what is CPU. And I found that it is so meaningful to find out what it is. And through this project, I know more about IT product, and I also meet some new friends. So I think this is kind of very useful information for me. Thank you.
I'm Chan Chi Wai. You can call me Shally. My student ID is 203A55. First of all, I don't have any ideas of computer, even I don't know what CPU of my computer I'm using just now. In this project, I know more knowledge about the CPU. It turned out to be cores and threads and the frequency. I'm quite happy to work with my good mates and friends for this project. Let me to have the opportunities to make me understand more about the computer knowledge. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jack Gaming. My student number is 203A39. Although I always use computer and know some computer knowledge, basic knowledge, actually I don't know what is CPU and I don't know how it runs. But after I finish this proposal, I know the structure of the CPU and I know how many cores or threads, some information about CPU. So I also thanks a lot to my teammate, and we work together very successful. Okay, that's it. Thank you.